I saw myself in the mirror, not the person I was. And I knew better. I'd been to Bangladesh, I'd been to, these countries, and I saw the millions of children on the streets begging and dying. And nobody needed to explain that to me. In any culture, we learn very fast. And, 8 years of my life, or a little more than that, I lived on the streets weeping and crying for the lost world and witnessing and, getting beaten up for preaching the gospel and all that. When I first came to America in 1974 to go to Bible college, I was amazed by the highways and freedom and everything else, and shocked by everything that was going on here. And I was very much in the pursuit to excel with life here. Going through high school, there was a growing awareness in the years of my schooling that I belonged to Christ. And when I finished my high school, I remember telling my mother and father if they would allow me, I like to go and be a missionary, serve the Lord. It was going to Rajasthan that I realized, going from village to village, we would ask people if they heard the name Jesus or they knew Jesus. One of the more common answers we got was, well, we've been living in this village for 10 years, 30 years, 50 years. No one by that name live here, but you go to the next village, you might find him there. And again and again and again, we realized this is real. There are people living in these communities that never heard the name Jesus. And when you think about countries like India, how many people know Afghanistan got 17, 18 million people in the entire country, maybe less than 200 born-again believers, and not a single church that people can openly go to worship. Think about over 1 billion Muslims in the world, and thank God some things are going on. India with 1.2 billion people, one country, and 300 million of those people are untouchables, the Dalits. And believe it or not, 90% of the Dalits community are the children illiterates. They don't go to school, and the women in such suffering, but they are the ones opening their hearts to the Lord like never before. But now, having come to America, now information became spirituality for me. And I, being an evangelical conservative pastor of an American congregation, I knew much about missions, and I talk about heaven and hell and need to reach the people and missionaries going, all those things. But I found myself, as Keith Green said, my eyes are dry, my heart is cold. It became all a matter of fact. And that's when I realized that I was more concerned about dressing right and color coordination. And it took me a half hour trying to figure out what color fits me, because I read a book, Color Me Beautiful, and analyzing the skin tone, all those things. And I knew half of the world go to bed with empty stomach and naked bodies. I am not a white American, I am an Indian. And I remember praying, say, Lord, I don't know what to do for myself. My heart is cold. And I know what you are saying, because I knew from experience what it means to walk with the living Christ. I knew what it means to have Him weep through my eyes. It was not condemnation or guilt trip, but rather very gentle and loving, saying, I called you not for this. Walk away from this mess and be mine. In my own journey, the Lord intervened and touched my heart, that I found my heart was becoming tender. It was not the world is going to hell, I must do great mission work and I must move the world and be a great activist for God. Without me, God can. That was not the issue here. I was so genuinely in love with Christ. If He asked me to go and climb on the top of a 10-story building and jump off, I would have done it. I found Him to be the most wonderful thing, more than life itself. That day, your life and my life and what we all talk about is going to be tested, not for quantity, but for quality. Every plant my Father has not planted will be plucked out. The question is not the tree is good or not. The question is not the plant is good or not, but who planted it. Out of his inner being, the rivers of living water flow. The question is not the water is good or not. What's the source? And so my plea, and I beg this young generation, God is looking for people to represent His Son, but they cannot unless they walk as He walked.